connection is really bad. I'm eating a peep and my tongue's all blue. Wait a little bit, see if people get on here. It's just me right now, eating peeps. I'll stop eating for right now. 5 people. Hello, Beatrice. So, when I made the event for today, I said we would talk about Kent and Melissa's cases. So, if anybody wants to talk about Kent or Melissa, fire away. I realize most people are here to talk about Steven Avery. So, this will just be open discussion. Talk about Steven. Thank you, Christy, that I just got the notification that Christy just donated $25 to put in Melissa's commissary account. Because I'm going tomorrow to visit Kent Pellegrini in prison. I am in a Chicago suburb, and the prisons are down southern Illinois. So Kent had already asked me to come down because he's waiting for decision in his case that should hear by the end of April. And he's a little stir crazy. And Kent is somebody who, he doesn't ask anything of anyone. You know, Kathleen Zell, it's not pro bono. No, he's paying for it. He is paying for it. While in prison, he still has to pay child support. They did not make it smaller due to him being in prison. So he's paying a lot of money for child support, and he's not allowed to have any contact with his kids. So, and then Kent doesn't ask people to come visit him or any of that. So he asked me last week, because I haven't gone and seen him in a while. He asked me to come down. So I was like, all right, fine. Yeah, I can come down. And so then today it dawned on me going, well, if I'm going to go to Kent's prison, why not visit Melissa too and just make a day of it? Because Melissa's prison is a little over a 2-hour drive for me. And then Kent's prison is like a 3-hour drive for me. So I'm just going to get up early, drive down. I'll visit Melissa first. And then I'll visit with Melissa a little bit. And then I'll drive from there and go see Kent and visit with him and then drive back up north. So I did put the link to my PayPal. If anybody wanted to donate money to my PayPal, I'll then pull that cash out tomorrow morning before I drive down there. And I'll put the money directly into Melissa's commissary account. Kent wouldn't take money. You know, I had originally said to give to Kent or Melissa, but Kent never asked for any money from anybody. So the only money I'm able to, that I spend on Kent is when you go visit, you're in a visitor's room that's got a wall of vending machines with all different kinds of food and drink and ice cream and candy and all that. So, and you have to put money on a prison card to use a vending machine. So I can't just go in with cash and pay, you know, just spend the amount of what I spend. I have to put it on the card. So like when the last time I went and visited Kent, I put $60 on the card. I don't do math, so I have no idea how much I spent last time. But Kent didn't really get anything. He got a couple Pepsis. So there's probably a lot of money still left on his card. Melissa, every time I've gone to visit Melissa, I've gone with her dad. And so I just give her dad cash to put on her card. But now I'm just going without Paul. So I'll have to buy the card. It's $5 to get the card. But Paul says I should check and see if my card for Kent's prison would work there too, because his card says his prison on there. You know, it doesn't just like say Illinois Correctional or anything like that. It says Taylorville. So I'll have to get a card. Now that card is something completely different than commissary. So there's two machines there that look like ATM machines. So one is where you're going to be able to put money on the card that you can use on the vending machine. One is where you're going to put the money goes into her commissary. And they take a fee from it. You know, so whatever even though it does nothing, you know, it's no work on their end, but they take a percentage of any donations that go on her card. So I've so far gotten a $20 donation from Miley, and then Christy just donated $25. So that's much appreciated. So Melissa, she doesn't like to ask for things, but there's things like one of the visits I had with her, she talked about she has sensitive skin. And so she can't just use the regular soap. She needs to have, and this isn't like being, high maintenance chick or anything like that I want to have, I'm only going to bathe in Evian water or any of that kind of stuff. Because I have the same thing. I get so I can only use Aveeno soap and lotion. And Aveeno is not something that it's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's not expensive either. So this goes to help for Melissa to buy things like that, for soap that's better for her skin and whatnot. So, all right, let me scroll. Anything. Beatrice says, Melissa's case breaks my heart. Yeah. So Melissa's case, and I can't talk about it. Her dad, Paul, is currently at something pertaining to the case. He's going to call me later today and tell me what happened, but it's in bag here too. I'm going, I know something, but I'm not going to tell you, but I'm not going to say anything on it, but just know develop in Melissa's case. For those that don't know Melissa Kalusinski, that's Kalusinski, and the inmates at her prison, they call her Ski. So that's her nickname in prison, Ski. The correctional officers, everybody calls her Ski. So she's been in prison 10 years now. And it's just like, I just got done watching the eyewitness on the Riley Fox case, another one of Kathleen Zellner's. I've seen it before, but since they've re-aired it, I recorded it this morning. And so I just finished watching before going live. And it's showing just how similar to all these cases are. Now, Melissa and Brendan both have a low IQ. So people find it easier to believe that Brendan or Melissa could be tricked into confessing into a murder that they didn't commit. But then look at Kevin Fox in that case. And he was told the same stuff Melissa was. Melissa was told, just say it was an accident. Everything will be okay. And so they showed in there, Kevin Fox was said, just say this. You're able to get a lawyer and plead to this, blah, blah, blah. So the end thing is even though you're innocent, you're going down for it. So, and the machine is so big that you can't fight it. So if you just say you did it, you're going to you did it, it's an accident, you're going to plead it down. And and then you'll serve like 3 years. Sorry. My internet wasn't working when I first came on too. So I had messaged my boyfriend saying internet's not working, and I go live in 10 minutes. And now he just asked if it's working, and yes, it is. The Central Park Five, those are not people with low IQ. Yet they confessed to a crime they didn't commit because they were doing this guy's already said you were guilty. You know, and the first person who gives up the other people is going to get the better deal. They manipulate you. And that's what happened to Melissa. There is plenty of evidence to show that Melissa is innocent. They, just like in Stephen's case, the state doctored evidence. So doctored an x-ray, and it wasn't, and it's not just the state's doing. There were reports that have been shredded, witnesses that don't know where they are. So there's a lot to prove that Melissa is innocent. And that reminds me too, I've told you guys before that I'm involved in politics, and my state rep, my current state rep that just got elected, she's somebody that I worked on her campaign and did fundraisers for her, and I consider her a friend. And so she had messaged me yesterday because she just submitted a bill on Friday. And so she's like, have you seen my state rep page and how I'm getting attacked for this bill? So that's my key for, you know, I'm the attack dog. So I went to her page and saw what these people were saying, you know. So then I got involved in back and forth with them, and two guys. And I was calling them a stalker because then they were bringing up things from my Facebook page. I'm like, stalker, you know, that you're going to my Facebook page now to look into me. And so from that, they then called me a baby killer, because on my personal page says I'm a moderator of Melissa Kaluzinski, and that case is local here. So they and it was a famous case here in Illinois. So yeah, so they instantly went to calling me a baby killer because of my support of Melissa. Awesome. So, all right, let me scroll through your things. Janine says, great lighting today. I tried, even though I say you guys don't even need to look at me. You know, be scrolling something else and you're just listening to me. You don't need to look at this. But I'm like, all right, I'll close the blinds today. Asks, who are you? My name is Jax West, and I run Stephen Avery Project, as well as several other pages. Not related to the Avery family. I'm just an advocate for the wrongfully accused. And I work on two other cases, Melissa Kaluzinski and Kent Pellegrini, where Tristan is asking who they are. Melissa and Kent are both represented by Kathleen Zellner. Melissa is in prison for murdering an 18-month-old that she was forced into confessing. And then Kent Pellegrini is in prison for raping his wife. Not, they weren't estranged. They were in a committed relationship, living together, had kids together. Kent had an excellent job. You know, they were living a good life. They were about to be building their dream home. And then this woman claimed one night after they had had sex, and she is a drunk. She's got multiple DUIs. So she said while she was drunk, but they had consensual sex, and things got manipulated like usual, and sentenced to 8 years. So that is who Melissa and Kent are. And I haven't talked before, but there's a book publishing company that wanted a meeting with Paul Kaluzinski because they're interested in doing a book on Melissa. So Paul asked me to attend the meeting, and she brought with her a father from another case that they're doing a book on, and they've got to deal with the ID channel that they're going to be case. That is the Marnie Yang case. That's another Illinois case here where Marnie is in prison for murdering her, I guess you would say, rival. And this was a somewhat famous case because both women were dating Sean Gale, who, if you're in Illinois, the 85 Chicago Bears, big deal here, the Super Bowl Bears, that was like the greatest season. Sean Gale was on the 85 Bears. So like, Super Bowl shuffle, Sean Gale's in that. So Sean Gale is somebody who had tons of women. And then one of his women got pregnant. And Marnie Yang was another one of his girlfriends. And so she's in prison because they say that she murdered her rival, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, 7 or. I do not have any inside information on that case as of yet. When you Google the Yang case, everything you see really makes it look like this chick did it. She looks really guilty on all of that. But same thing when you're only given one side of it. That people, including Stephen's own family, said he was guilty until Making a Murderer came out. So I am waiting to get the inside stuff that will let me know why she is innocent. But so this book publishing company also has a not-for-profit organization that is all for defending the wrongfully accused. So they asked me last week if I would come on board and be a patient. So I agreed, but I don't know the details yet. I actually have a meeting on Thursday with the president of the organization where I'll discuss more details on it. But it's a way that I'll still be able to continue doing what I do with Stephen, Melissa, and Kent, and then being able to help other cases in other ways. So I'll, once I start delving into the Yang case, I'll share that in this group as well, if you guys want to look into that. But like I said, anything you Google on her right now, she looks way guilty. Let me scroll. So Crystal says, what's this about with Kent? Out of the loop. So hopefully I just explained that to you, Crystal, that he's another client of Kathleen Zellner's that I advocate for, and I'll be visiting him tomorrow. And Melissa also is another client of Kathleen's. Joy says, Illinois must be different than Iowa. Here you can only be on one prisoner's list at a time, and it takes 6 months to get off one and another 6 months to get on another. Good on you for going to see both of them. Well, I guess I'll find out tomorrow I'm on both lists. So I go, oh God, that would be horrible then if I go to see Kent and they tell me I can't go in because I've already made a visit today. But I don't know the details on here about taking people off and putting them on, but I know with Stephen and Brendan, it's that deal too. Yeah, that once you put somebody on, they have to be on for the 6 months. You can't just remove them. So, yeah, so That seems to be a fairly common thing. Claire says, not sure on Kent, but another innocent in prison that Jack supports. Yeah, so Kent is a case that you don't hear anything on because it's not murder, so it's not so sensational, that he's just in prison for raping his wife. And in Kent's case, I have all this information that Kent wants put out, affidavits and stuff from his case that Zellner's office has sent to me. Kent had me ask them for it, and they did send it to me. And so then Kent will want me to put it out, and then he'll say, because it's like he gets a little stir crazy when, as you guys know, in watching Stephen's case, it takes forever until you're hearing any decisions or any movements or filings or whatever. So when it takes too long, he's like, okay, put it out there, because nobody knows his side of the story. Everybody just thinks of him out here as he raped his wife, which even just saying that alone sounds crazy to me. But there's so much on that too to show that Kent is totally innocent. And he just wants, as he always says, he just wants to be heard. But now that his lawyer filed and then his state has replied, hopefully Kent should be getting his copies of that today, because typically when there's been any filings, then the lawyers will like FedEx it to the prison, in its lawyer mail. So it doesn't go through the same channels that if you're going to write to Kent on what it has to go through to get there. So Kent usually gets lawyer mail really quickly, and he hadn't received any of it yet. And Kent has me as his contact for his lawyers, because the way that Kathleen has her phone system set up, when you call there, it will say, dial 1 for Kathleen Zellner, dial 2 for Doug. So, and you can't do that at his prison. After you've dialed the number, that's it. You can't now push in extensions or anything like that. So Kent has me as, Kent will call me and tell me, can I relay this to Doug? Because Doug is the one that handles his case. And then I will forward it on to Doug. So Kent called me, said he hadn't received that and the filings yet. Can I email Doug? So I emailed Doug, and then Kent called me on Sunday, and I said, I emailed Doug, but I haven't heard anything back. And he said, okay, well, email Doug, and could you CC Scott? Scott is like the office manager at Kathleen's office. So I emailed them both. And then yesterday morning, I got a response from Scott saying, we'll resend to today. So then Kent had called me yesterday, and I said, oh, did you guess why he was calling? Because he had told me before he called me on Tuesday to make sure that I was still coming on Wednesday. And so Monday was a holiday. So, but at least I was able to tell him that I've gotten a response now. So hopefully he'll get it. Because again, he's just sitting in there twiddling his thumbs and going a little stir crazy. And he wants to read what's been filed on his behalf. He should be able to see this, just like the other thing. When they go to court, evidentiary hearings or whatever, Kent and Melissa don't get to go. Because it's too expensive, security risk or whatever so they don't get to go. So they rely on their lawyers calling them and letting them know what happened. And so if the lawyers don't let them know right away, you can understand. They're getting antsy. They want to know. They're the ones that are in prison. All right, let me scroll. Tristan, I'm sure you could only put gold dollars in the vending machine, LOL. So they have a coin machine in the lobby. Oh, that's weird. Beatrice says both KZ, if I'm not wrong. Yes, both Kent and Melissa are represented by Kathleen Zellner's office, but in Kent's case, it's Doug that Kathleen doesn't go. Holy cow. Sorry, political message I just got, because we have an election here next week and it's really ugly. And so, okay, I have to hold on. Let me X off of that because I'm just going to keep staring at it because it's going to make me mad. Right. What was I saying? Oh, so Kathleen doesn't go to court for Kent. Only Doug does. But like I hearings, and Kathleen is the first chair in that. That's what that's called, right? And Doug is always their second chair. So like when Kathleen, Kent is like writing stuff down and then passing the notes to Kathleen. So both Kathleen and Doug do Melissa's, but it's just Doug that does Kent's case, not a murder case. Claire says, what's Kent wrongly accused of for raping his wife? Moriyama? Is that how you say that? Is it me, or is the live freezing every now and then? Oh, is it? Yeah, I see when I move, it kind of gets weird. But so far it hasn't like frozen on me over here, but my internet service today is crappy and I don't know why. So sorry about that. Moriyama says, her voice breaks up for me. I don't understand what she's saying. Oh, that sucks. Miley says, hey, lady, and hey, Miley, and thank you for donating to Melissa. Claire says, good news for Melissa? Hoping so. Lisa Marie says, sorry, just jumped on. Who are we talking about? Well, right now I was talking about Melissa Kaluzinski and Kent Pellegrini. But this is open. You know, I'm going to read through your guys' stuff. So, you know, whatever you guys want to talk about. You know, you want to talk about Stephen's case. You want to talk about abducted in plain sight. You know, whatever you want to discuss, we can talk about. Riley Fox, like I said, I just watched that, so that's fresh in my mind. Crystal says, wow, the things women will do to mess up a man's life. Poor Kent. Yeah, and they have 4 kids. And so, like, Kent's dad doesn't even get to see his grandkids. This woman is... Amanda says, I've heard of the Gale case. Very interesting. Oh, yeah. So, like I said, in that Yang case, because when I was first offered this job, I talked to the moderators about it. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to be involved in this case, start snooping around, you know, looking into it. And so all the moderators were looking into it, and they just kept saying to me, she's guilty, you know. And then when I was able to look into it too, it's everything I find online is she's guilty. But these people are assuring me, no, when you find out the other stuff in there of coerced confession and edited phone conversations and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know the details yet, but so I'm not being involved in Stephen Avery case and any other of these cases that you look into. I can't just go by what I read online and go automatically somebody is guilty. I've learned my lesson. Even with, you know, I love the ID channel. I have the ID channel on all the time. But now when I watch all those shows, I'm like, okay, is that really what happened or not? You know, so I don't trust anything, just like I didn't with Making a Murderer. You know, I say, oh, we were all just convinced by a one-sided show. But after I watched Making a Murderer for the first time, I researched everything. So knock it off, Mallory. Sorry, my dog's trying to get my chapstick for whatever reason. Snooze says, scares me how much corruption there is. Why can't people just be honest and have some integrity? Right? You just see it more and more. and it's everywhere. Shelley says, when do you think KZ will hear from the courts? Well, a thing that we just posted today, an article from Newsweek, was that the courts now admitted, or the state, not the court, the state has admitted that they gave the bones, some bones, to the Halbach family, and that they still have some bones. We hopefully should be hearing soon from the state on what's in the magic bag. What's in the bag? To see if we can find 8675. Is it in the bag? Or did you give it to the Halbach family to bury as Teresa when you prosecuted Stephen saying that bone wasn't Teresa? So I'm hopeful we'll at least hear something from the state soon. The court can take as long as it wants, because again, it's shitty. That's shitty. There should be a time limit on that crap. You know, that people shouldn't have to sit in prison for months, years. There's no reason why the court can't, you know, you tell court it has 30 days. What else are you doing? Because even like I heard something about the Supreme Court is back in session, but like they're back in session for only 2 weeks and they only have 2 cases. You know, they're not inundated, because especially on the Supreme Court level, they deny everything. All right, back to scrolling. Shelley says in Missouri, you can only be on the list for one person. Interesting. And then Shelley says, what did you watch Riley Fox on? It's on the ID channel. And it's a show they have called the letter I, comma, witness. And so it was on at 6 a.m. this morning. Hold on, let me get it. I can get you what the title of the episode is too, because I didn't delete it off of here in case I needed to go back to it. It's season 1, episode 3, The Accused. And it was filmed within the last 3 years, because Kathleen is the one that is talking to the camera about the case. And she mentions that she represents Stephen Avery. So, oh, sorry. Another political, remember when I said the state rep, that I went to her page, and so it's a guy now trolling me again on there. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Leanne says, is there a link where I can read these cases in the UK and never heard of this before? We've got, I think somebody's already posted links on here for you guys. So let's see, what do I find first here? Kent's Facebook page is called Justice for Kent, and the 4 is a number. Let me post that link here. I'm the admin for that one. And then Melissa's page, where is it? No, it's not up here. Hold on. It's called Official Justice for Melissa Kaluzinski family page. I'm just a moderator for that. Melissa's Aunt Helen is the one that started and runs that page. So there are those. John says, abducted in plain sight is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I couldn't believe it. And then I made my boyfriend watch it, and watch it a second time with him, because it's just like, are you kidding me? Ugh. And then I just watched that other one. the what is that called? In the name of our family or something like that. Oh my God, that was infuriating too. People are idiots. Cecilia says, with this admitting that they tell me the phone's over to Teresa's family, what happens from here with Stephen? And then Cecilia said, what are your thoughts on returning the bones back to Teresa's family? Do you know at this point what happens next? What happens to Stephen? What's next? Well, he should get a new trial. He should. Well, he should just be released, because this, if the state is saying that is Teresa's bone, then it doesn't fit their narrative. So that means Stephen is innocent. So they should just release him. He should be able to be released on his own recognizance. And I'm not basically a lawyer. Don't pretend to be a lawyer. I don't know if double jeopardy would go into effect on that, or if it just then becomes like a mistrial or whatever. But so whether they could retry him or not, I'm not sure. I'm sure they'd come up with a way that they could try him again. But how much money is that going to cost the state? Knowing at the end of it, even if you were able to buy another guilty verdict, one way or another, Kathleen's going to get Stephen out, because there is so much that he's innocent, and there's going to be wrongful conviction money. So, but again, it's a lot of waiting around now. That the ball is always in the court's favor, that for them to take as long as they would like. Lynn says, did you watch the Jessica Chambers doc last night? Oh, I did not. What was that on? Amanda says, just joining in. Can you summarize, please? There's nothing to really summarize, Amanda. I'm floating around all different cases right now, just talking about them by going by whatever questions pop up on here. Cecilia says, I bet Ken Kratz shit his pants when he heard of the accidental voicemail. That voicemail, no matter which way you want to say it was, that somebody intentionally left it on there, pretending it was an accident, or if it was an accident, it's showing you that the state doesn't know if they have the bones or not. That guy didn't, who wasn't a key player in everything from before. And shouldn't you be positive you have it? So it makes it look really sketch. Debbie says, search eyewitness Kathleen Zellner on YouTube. Thank you, Debbie. And Leanne says, thank you. Sharon says, when is Melissa's next hearing? I know it's in March, I think. We're supposed to be hearing something March 27th. It's not court. We're supposed to be getting a ruling. So March 27th. And we should be hearing something on Kent by the end of April. And Stephen could be today. I just hope, well, that's me being selfish and going, I hope it's not tomorrow, because I will be at the two different prisons and I can't bring my cell phone in, so I won't have any idea what's going on. Tammy says, Kratz's tweet today was horrible. Oh, God, I haven't seen it. So, oh, thanks, Tristan. The Family I Had. Has anybody seen The Family I Had? Because, yeah, that's what I just watched last night. And this woman just denied that her child is a homicidal maniac, and he killed her 4-year-old daughter. Wow. Shelley says, okay, I just want to say this. Abducted in plain sight. Wonder what kind of relationship the daughter has with her parents. Yeah, you know, we need an update on how are they now. just so bizarre. And the memes that have come out from that are hilarious. You know, I hate's a strong word, but I don't hate the parents because they just don't seem all there. You know, but it's supposed to, you know, isn't that job number one when you're a parent, protect your child? You let some old, well, he's not old, but compared to their daughter, you know, some old guys, I don't care if they're old or young, sleep with your daughter. My therapist says I have to sleep with your daughter. What? That case is so bizarre. Shelly, I'd like to slap both parents. Janet's asking, what did Kratz tweet today? Yeah, because I don't do Twitter, so I only see the tweets if somebody posts it in here. John says, wig is freed over this. Would double jeopardy apply? Yeah, that's what I was just, oh, yeah, never mind. You already answered my question. Yeah, I don't know if double jeopardy would apply. Because because this stuff with the bone, the 8675, was given to the family in 2011, which is after the original trial. So it wouldn't mean that bone, they did something with the bone during the trial that you'd be able to say it was a mistrial. It's happened after the fact, but it's evidence that proves Stephen is innocent. So, yeah, I think that it should just free him and double jeopardy would apply. But that's my high school education speaking. I don't know. Alex asks, are we talking about anything or better? I can ask anything. People can always ask anything. Doesn't mean I'm going to answer it. Cecilia says, the parents of the girl abducted in plain sight should have gotten some jail time, prison, or something. That case is just too strange to make me wonder, did the family sell their daughter to that man? Yeah, it's, were they preyed on due to religion? Because they're Latter-day Saints, right? And so I don't know. Is the guy that did all this still alive in prison too? Because, oh my God, for him to be able to get the mother to have sex with him for what, 8 months? And then they only say that the dad jerked him off the one time. I don't know if anything happened more than the one time, but what a master manipulator. I wonder what his prison experience is like, if he's able to manipulate everybody in there or if he's been made the bitch. Beatrice said the father died in December 2018 and the mom and her have a very good relationship. The kid grew up to be an actress. Oh, really? Courtney says, fuck your therapist. Yeah, right? Oh my God. I cannot imagine somebody saying that to me. I have a son. I mean, he's 25 now, but when he was little, somebody saying, my therapist says I need to sleep with your son. Oh my God. My husband would have beat the crap out of him. Alex says, if abuse was so easy to see, there wouldn't be any. Very true. Alex continues with, but I think they will never forgive themselves. Never, ever. You could see it in their eyes. Yeah, they're really sad people. Oh, yeah, the abductor committed suicide. All right, I do remember. Thanks, Beatrice. Shelby says, Jack's the guy that did all of that, killed himself. Thank you. Yeah, totally forgot that part. Alex, just imagine this piece of shit was so manipulative, or however it's spelled. They trusted him. Damn, I know. How could they? Well, that's why I don't know, was their faith an issue? I don't know. But it's such a bizarre story. And so that other one that I can't have, The Family I Had, watch The Family I Had. It's only an hour and 20 minutes. I believe it was on Showtime On Demand, but I don't recall because I've got my TV, I've got this remote where I can push a button and just say what I'm looking for and it finds it. So I never remember what's on what channel. But watch that, The Family I Had, or whatever it's called, because there's no sympathy for anybody in that, in my opinion. They're all nasty people. Mickey says, I pray he is a bitch. Yeah. And then I've seen in gossip that people have been posting about Dear Zachary. One of these days I'll watch it again. I watched it 3 years ago or whatever, right after Making a Murderer, when I was just really throwing myself into every case I could find. It's the saddest thing I've ever seen. So I tell some people, don't watch it. You know, especially if you currently have a young child that, oh God, God, I always act like I'm this tough bitch. And then when I talk about this stuff, I tear up like an idiot. You just feel that to your core. When I saw that, I sobbed so hard. But also the parents in that are like the best people in the world. They're on par with Bill Ferguson for me. And Paul Kaluzinski would rate in there too, of these parents that are going to do anything for their children, to get justice for their children. And when you watch Dear Zachary, you see that their son, all their friends wanted to be around these parents. That's how awesome they were, you know, and that they would even get together with these parents even if their son wasn't around, you know, that they're great people. So Dear Zachary, just know that it's going to be the saddest thing you've ever seen in your life. Have Kleenex ready. Don't watch it with other people unless you're okay with them seeing you ugly cry. Because I don't care who you are, how tough you think you are, you're going to sob. And it's another instance of our laws suck. And we need so much criminal justice reform. Let me scroll again. Leah says, you guys must be talking about the movie about the girl being kidnapped right under her parents' nose. Yes, so shocking. But like the young lady said, she believed what he said. Yeah, he's an alien, or, you know, there's this alien and you have to be with B and all. Crazy. Lynn says, Family I Had scared me. Yeah, because, well, that boy's going to be free one day. And his family, okay, go ahead and murder somebody else. It's just, wow. Courtney says that poor sister of the abused girl was so emotional during the whole show. Yeah. Oh, Alex says, okay, my question. Were you ever thinking about having a guest in your live feed? I know you already had guests. It was fun. I was thinking about someone who is very active in the group like Rubber Ducky. Do we have Rubber Ducky in here? I mean, I know people share their stuff. I thought Rubber Ducky is somebody who's typically Reddit or Twitter. But absolutely, I mean, if Rubber Ducky wants to do a live with us, whether it is here in Gossip or want to go to Stephen Avery Project where it's a bigger audience, I'm up for it. Or if we want to do a live, I know this was thrown at me once too, if we were to do a live and you guys could all come on one at a time if you wanted to talk, we could organize something like that. So Lynn says, Jessica Chambers freaked me out too. Well, maybe I'm going to have to check that out. Let me even, where's my pen and paper and write it down? It's, the name's familiar to me, but I don't know what that case is. Is that the model? Alex says, yeah, poor parents. That was heartbreaking. Leanne says, I can't bring myself to watch it. Beatrice says, dear Zachary, my God, if someone wants to watch it, it's on YouTube. I have the book too. It's downloaded onto my iPad. The father wrote the book and I started reading it. I think I only got like a chapter in and I've never gone back to it. Nothing wrong with the book. It's just I haven't gotten back to reading it. And also just the anticipation of how much am I going to cry reading the words that the father actually wrote. Dondi says, I watched a show last night called Allison. A girl was raped at gunpoint in South Africa. It's a story of her survival and hope. Well, that's interesting because the job I'm taking on with we're the WMP, they do a lot in South Africa. So they actually have people coming this weekend from South Africa that working on, so they work on cases on South Africa as well. So like the tribe, the Zulu king or queen or something like that, they're flying them here for something. So, but I don't know all the details. I guess I'll find that out Thursday at the meeting. Oh, Alex says someone wrote, a moderator, I think, said Rubber is in Gossip. Yeah, I don't know because I don't keep up on that stuff. So I don't know who Rubber Ducky really is. I don't know who TikTok Manitowoc is, all those things. But any of those people ever want to do a live with us, I'm happy. You know, so you guys go ahead. If you've got relationships with any of those people, you can ask them if they'd like to do a live. I see Julie saying, I know who Rubber Ducky is, but I swore I would keep identity private. Well, and I get that, Julie. So, so if it's something like Rubber Ducky doesn't want to come on live, but would do a thing where while we're doing a live would be in here posting and people could be asking them questions, we could do that as well. I totally understand people, especially in the Stephen Avery case, wanting to keep themselves secret because of what the Avery family and their minions will do to you, like what I've had to deal with the last 3 years. You know, I've got an impending court date due to them. So I get it. And I totally don't want to out anybody. Cecilia says, okay, I've been very curious. What does that sign say in your window? So that sign, let me see if I can show it better to you guys. This way? This way. Can Can you read it? Doggies. So it's plywood and it's painted and it says no trespassing, private drive and property, and then it's signed on the bottom, Chuck Avery. So back when I was friends with the Avery family, when one of my trips up to the salvage yard, my boyfriend owns a print shop. So we had made a whole bunch of shirts for the family. Well, they were supposed to pay, but never have. So we had made Steven shirts and Brendan shirts, and then the salvage yard wanted business cards, and so Jeff made business cards for Chuck and Earl, and they had so when you're there on 147 and you get to Avery Road, there's the big huge sign that's there that most people, when they go to be a looky-loo, they take a picture by the big huge sign. Then when you're driving down Avery Road, the straight thing, you then have to, at some point, either if you continue going straight, you're going to go into the salvage yard, or if you turn right, you're going to go down to the residences, where Dolores's residence is right there next to the big garage and office of the Avery salvage yard. And then there's another outbuilding, and then is what was Barb's trailer and is now Chuck's trailer, and then Stevens. And so there was that sign. So when you watch Making a Murderer, you'll see that sign. And Jeff surprised Chuck and made a real nice sign using what the other sign at the street looked like to make this one look like it. So it looked professional and everything, telling people this is a private drive, don't go down this way. So when we gave it to Chuck, and maybe I should post the video again, because I did video when we gave the new signs to Chuck. My boyfriend said, the only payment for the sign is give me the old one. So I have it here. The sign that Jeff made, he made two different ones. So now when you watch Making a Murderer Part 2, when you see the sign there by the property, that's the one that Jeff made, not this one anymore. So Part 1 has that sign. Part 2 has the one that Jeff made and gave to Chuck. He had made two signs though, and for down there, and one of them got stolen. And Carla then blamed Jeff and I for stealing them, which makes absolutely no sense. She's claiming it was because she says the weekend that it was stolen is a weekend that we had been at Barb's house. And at that time, Barb and Carla hated each other. And I was there because we were doing a Facebook Live and I was moderating it. So Carla was claiming since Jeff and I were in the area, we stole the sign. We didn't steal both of them. We just stole one. Sure. Okay. Whatever. So, but that's what that sign is. Lynn says it was on ID and oxygen. No, the girl in Mississippi who was burned to death. Oh, wow. Julie, never worry. This one especially, don't worry about being here late because I'm just going over whatever you guys post. Jessica says, or could we have, Carol Ann or TikTok? Well, it's like I said, anybody who wants to do a live, if they want to, we can do it. Tanya says, I didn't know that Rubber Ducky's identity was a secret. Oh yeah, Tanya, you messaged me something the other day, didn't you? And it came in right at the time that somebody else had messaged me something that was, it's somebody that I know personally. And it was one of those things that now if you click on it, it's going to steal your Facebook or whatever. So I didn't look into it. But so just let me know, yay or nay, was that a real thing you sent me? Because I was a little paranoid. Lynn says, ID was the People magazine show. Okay. Dondi says, the case, I believe, was back in the 1980s. Yeah, the name is very familiar to me. Okay, your replies. Tanya says, I guess I just assumed everyone knew who she is. Yeah, I never try and look in, because Tanya, you've been around since the start too. And I know that you're pretty involved in some other cases. So you know how that goes. So if somebody wants to stay anonymous, I'm all for it. Keep yourself out of the line of fire. Leah says, Jax, what was the final outcome with your court the other day? So what happened at court was they absolutely weren't prepared for my case at all. And I think that's a typical thing, because my thing, it's not, a criminal case. I actually reported to traffic court for my trespassing ticket. And so they just expect you to they don't even expect you to come in. They think you're just going to pay the fine. So all I had to do is plead not guilty. Then I had to go in a room with the district attorney or the lawyers, that I don't have anybody representing me. And so I have a pre-trial date, which I still have to reach out to them to see if I can reschedule it, because crazy coincidence, the day of my pre-trial, I work for the ACLU that day. The ACLU, the Illinois ACLU, does a luncheon once a year. That's like their big fundraising thing. And this will be my 3rd year volunteering for it. So I'll be at a place with a whole bunch of lawyers at the same time as my court. Now, they told me I don't have to go, because I told them it's a 3-hour drive. They said I do not have to go, that I can just call in. But then other people go, don't trust it. It's Manitowoc County. So then I talked to a lawyer, and they told me I should put in for a continuance since I can't make it that day. Otherwise, I'm going to call. I've got to call it. So I'll be at the ACLU thing, because my court is at 9:30. And I think I have to report to the ACLU banquet at 9 a.m. So I just figured I'll bring my headphones and tell them I have to go to court for a few minutes. So let me do that, and then I'll go back to working. And then I would also record it to prove that I attended or whatever. I don't know. So, but I literally haven't looked at the paper that they sent me home with, because I know they just wrote down a phone number. Hold on, let me get it. I think it's on my dining room table. All right. So, set for pre-trial, 9:30. There's absolutely nothing written on here at all, except for the phone number that I have to call in. I don't know if you can even see. Yeah, you can't really see anything. State of Wisconsin plaintiff versus Jacqueline West. Court case number 19F. I don't know if that's a 0 or an 011. And then it has in parentheses trespass. Prosecuting attorney. Can't read the writing. And their state bar number. So I need to call that and see if I can get a new date. But then other people tell me don't get a new date, because it'd be another thing that I'll get screwed over for. That then they'll still have it on the 15th and say I didn't show. Christy says, I watch your lives, but I still don't know who you are. Well, that's funny, Christy, because every time I do a live, I'm asked a million times who I am, and I say it over and over. My name is Jax West. No relation to the Avery family. I am just somebody who watched Making a Murderer, like everybody else who's here, and knew that they were innocent after doing all this research. How I started getting way involved is that Curtis Bussey, who started Stephen Avery Project, was going to schedule a protest that was going to be down here in Illinois in Naperville, which is a town next to me, because Fassbender and Wiegert were going to speak at a law enforcement convention. And so Curtis had made a post on Stephen Avery Project and said, if I scheduled a protest, would people be interested? So I right away contacted Curtis and said, hey, I live right next to it. So what I did then is I called the Naperville Police Department and told them that I was going to be protesting this event and what I needed to do it legally. Did I need a permit? Which I was told, no, I didn't need a permit. And they gave me all the rules on, don't be out in traffic. Don't try and stop any vehicles from pulling into the parking lot. You can't be right in front of the door. You can't try and stop people from going in, all that. Naperville was really lovely to deal with. I didn't need a permit. I didn't need to pay anything, nothing. I also reached out to the building, the organization that was having the law enforcement convention, letting them know that I was going to be protesting, Fassbender and Wiegert being there. I then went to the location and scouted it out and took video and pictures of it, and it went up on Stephen Avery Project so we could all figure out where exactly we would be standing and doing all that. I also looked up all the close hotels that were over there, since people were going to come in from, oh boy, sorry. So that's what started me on everything. The Fassbender and Wiegert ended up canceling, so we never had that protest at all. So then the next thing I did was, well, I had gone and I saw Buting and Strang when they started their tour. I drove up to Milwaukee for it. And the protest was going to be not long after that. This is when the protest was still on. And so Curtis, who again started Stephen Avery Project, he was going to go to that event. And he obviously was going to be coming down here because Curtis lives in Wisconsin. He was going to come down here for the protest, and he was going to stay at I offered up my house, my spare room that he could stay at. And so I'm like, all right, well, we're both going to the Strang Buting event. We only knew each other online. Let's meet in person here. So I met up with him there. Well, he was there with a lot of the Avery family. He paid for the Avery family to attend that event. So that's where I first met family. And so I had gone to the Strang Buting event, and I've been writing articles and stuff since like 2000. I used to have a website on reality TV shows, go figure. And so I did a lot of reviews and articles. I did a lot of interviews with people and stuff. So when I had gone to Strang and Buting, I brought notebook and pen and took notes, and then I wrote an article on it. So then the next thing that happened was Drizzt and Knight Rider were having an event in Chicago. And so I went to that. And by this time, I I had contacted somebody I grew up with. Her house was literally behind mine, and we're Facebook friends. We don't see each other anymore, but Facebook friends. And I knew from her Facebook post that her husband had been involved in some way with the Amanda Knox case. So when I was organizing these protests, I had reached out to her and said, hey, could your husband give me some advice on any of this, that I'm doing this protest? And, because I had never organized a protest prior to that time. So from that, I started talking with her husband, who is a founder of an organization called Injustice Anywhere. And so Injustice Anywhere is an organization that takes on wrongful convictions and tries to help them get free. Amanda Knox being one of their major cases. And Bruce went to Italy. He was really involved in the Amanda, and he's gone to Seattle where she lives now. So Bruce told me that Injustice Anywhere was going to endorse the Brendan case. They, some of their members weren't sure on Stephen's guilt or innocence, so they were just going to endorse Brendan at that time. And so he asked if they made a Facebook page, would I be the admin? So they started Free Brendan Dassey, where there's also the Twitter for that is Free Brendan Now. So I'm the admin of that. So then when Drizzen and Nyrider did their thing, Bruce and I went and saw that. And I took notes and I wrote an article on that. And Stephen Drizzen had told us something that I had never heard before, which was they had interrogated Brendan. Now, remember, I don't do numbers. So they had interrogated Brendan like on February 26th and 27th, but they didn't on the 28th. Then they bring him in on March 1st, and that's okay, I'm just going to come out and say it, who shot her in the head. And so he had said, so what happened on the 28th that they brought him in again? Well, the 28th is when they found the magic bullet. And until then, nobody had discussed Teresa being shot. That was not part of the narrative at all. But they needed Brendan now to say it. And that's what screwed it up for them, is because they needed Brendan to say it on his own volition. But because of him being low IQ, he didn't understand. What did you do? What did you do to her head? What did you do? He doesn't get, because also Brendan's not a hunter, so shooting somebody is not, something he's thinking of. So I wrote an article on what I saw Drizzen and Nyrider, and then Drizzen contacted me because of my article talking about the bullet thing. People said, well, I've never heard that before. That's not true. So people weren't believing me. So Drizzen then sent me the documents to add into the article now later after the fact to show people what really, that this did happen. So that was really cool. Then the next thing was Ken Kratz was coming to Illinois to sell his damn book. So I'm like, all right, I organized a protest against Fassbender and Wiegert, which caused them to cancel it just by me doing the protest. I'm going to make one for Kratz's event. So I scheduled it. And then Drizzen messaged me and asked if I was going in to watch Kratz's event. And I said, hell no, I'm not giving him any money. And I said, I'm going to be outside protesting. And Drizzen said he thought it would be better if I went in and, as he said it, do what I do. That he wanted me to go in and take notes and write an article on it. And so I was like, okay, I really don't want that fucker to get my money. So I ordered tickets. Tickets had been on sale for a couple days at that point. I was able to buy front row center because hardly any tickets had sold, because the thing would come up showing you what seats were available. So I bought front row center because I was gonna look right in your face, man. So I ended up getting my tickets refunded because Kratz canceled. So that protest didn't happen either. So I did free Brendan, concentrated on that. I was friends with Carla at one point. Carla's been to my house. I've been to hers. That went bad when Carla basically thought she could just tell me what to do, and I told her no, she can't. And so she's been out to destroy me ever since. And I was friends with Barb, and then I wasn't, because Barb got all jealous because there was another supporter that Barb wanted her to be only her friend, and the girl was my friend too. And so Barb got all pissy about it. I don't know. It's all childish and stupid. Then when Curtis got tired of the harassment from the Avery family, because the things that the Avery family did to Curtis are horrible. Tried to ruin his marriage. And so he had enough and wanted to go. And his moderator suggested that I be the one to take over Stephen Avery Project. And so that's who I am in a nutshell. A long nutshell, because I talk forever. Alex says, and now I have two things I can hardly wait for: spring for the Manitowoc road trip and a guest in live feed. Well, good. Yeah, you never know when I'm going to pop up to Manitowoc. Cecilia says, thanks. Julie says, Ducky didn't ask me to keep identity private. I just told Ducky I would. If Ducky wishes to share identity, that's up to Ducky. Yes, I agree. Lynn says, I watched The Purple Lady. She said something about Bobby Dassey, best friend. She thinks he did it. Oh, God, Purple Lady. Yeah, if that's who I think it is, she's horrible. She has said some really nasty things about Brendan, nasty sexual things. And she always refers to him as fat, too. And it's like, that's so gross. Lynn says, does law enforcement check him out? There isn't much about him. Are you talking about Mike Osmondson? So he's been talked about several times. I do think Mike Osmondson knows Bobby did it. And that may have helped after the fact. I don't think he was a part of the actual crime, though. Julie says, I have strong concerns of Earl's friend, Fabian. Can't remember his first name. I believe it's Robert Fabian. Cecilia says, that's awesome. Alex says, Martinez is interesting too. Tanya, oh, okay, Tanya, so I'll check it out when I'm free. So yeah, sorry about that, because like I said, I got that, and I was like, oh, because I'd even clicked on the one thing originally. I was like, wait, no, don't click on that. And then I messaged a person. I'm like, is this going to steal my Facebook? And she said, yeah, absolutely, don't, blah, blah. So, all right, so I'll look into it. And Tanya, in gossip, anything you want to share about the Brazil case, I mean, I don't follow it, but you're more than welcome to share it in here. I know Stephen Avery Project, we tried to keep just about Stephen's case, but MAM Gossip is open to everything. So, Tanya, you're more than welcome. Or if that's a live that you guys with the Brazil case ever want to do, I'll even put it on Stephen Avery Project to try and help that case get attention. I know it's something that the family and certain supporters get upset with me if I do anything on Stephen Avery Project that isn't Stephen Avery specific, but I just think that's extremely selfish. With how huge Stephen Avery Project is, that we currently have 191,000 followers. we're going to bring you everything on Stephen's case as soon as it's there. It's not like Stephen's case is going to get lost, but why can't we, tell people about these other cases that need help too? So yeah, Tanya, so if that's ever anything, you guys in the Brazil case or any of the other cases, just let me know, because we just want to help. Courtney says, Eaton Pat's story is crazy. He was the first missing child to be on a milk carton. Interesting. The name looks familiar to me, but I don't know anything on that, I don't think. Julie says, anyone watch the news show on Fox, Proven Innocent? I thought about recording it. The Frazier dude kind of turns me off, so I think that's why I decided not to. But then I saw somebody say that it actually, somebody who had been in prison and freed, they said that it's like one of the most realistic things they've seen. So I'm like, all right, maybe I'll check it on demand and start watching it. And so that's like on Fox. That's a network show for anybody. Oh, and you said that new show on Fox, so I don't need to tell people. Sorry. Leah says, that's some crazy stuff. Basically, they just expected you to bend over and take what they were giving you. I hope everything works out for you. Not very formal on the paperwork. Yeah, I know. It doesn't. But again, the date and time that they say I was trespassing in Gibson, Wisconsin, I was here in Illinois, and I have video proof to prove it, because I have cameras all around my house. So I gave them the thumb drive. We put the video on it, and then we also printed out a still of me, because I let my dogs outside. So, because I have a 3 Seasons room porch, that's the door we go in and out of. And so there's a camera on the porch, since it's a porch and we don't lock that outside door. The door here from my dining room is locked, but that's not. So there's a camera in my porch, and then cameras all around the house. So you see me go and let my dogs outside. Then I sit on the porch, because I think I originally was just letting the dogs out to do their business and going to let them back in. So I sat on my porch, and I was on my cell phone. So I was just like looking online or whatever. Then I ended up, because we have a recycling bin that's out on the porch. So I grabbed the recycling bin. We have a detached garage down the driveway. And so I walked down to our recycling can and put our recycling in the can, come back to the porch, put the recycling bin back on the porch. And then we've got a long driveway down this way where our mailbox is at the street. And I walked down to the mailbox and back. I mean, so I was home in Illinois, and I'm 3 hours away from there. So, so that's why too, it's like, so do I go for a continuance, or do I just call? Is the call going to be quick? Because are they just going to dismiss it? Because I have hard proof I wasn't there. Brittany says, so I haven't messaged you back to follow up on what I sent you. Just wondering if you got a chance to look into it. No, I did not, Brittany. Okay, I need to look at that. Things have been crazy. Sorry, I haven't looked into it. But it'll still be in my messages. I'll look for it. Because I don't think I have anything going on today at all. It's just now tomorrow I have to get up early and drive to the prison. Amanda, is it even confirmed that the bones were actually even given to the Halbachs? Bones were given to Halbachs. So that's the thing here, that Carol Ann Fitzgerald is the one that sent this information to Kathleen. And you can see it in the documents that were FOIA'd a week ago or whatever. So when the stuff is in evidence, it gets tagged with a number and dated. And then anytime that evidence moves, the person who gives it has to sign and receives it has to sign. So there's that constant chain of custody on where everything went. The documents that Kathleen had stops at the stuff is in storage or whatever. And in the FOIA stuff, you can see that Wiegert signed the stuff out and gave it to Karen Hallbach. And you see Karen Hallbach's signature on it in 2011. So they gave 8675 to the Hallbach family. And 8675 is said over and over and over again in everything that this is from the quarry or the gravel pit. I always confuse gravel pit and quarry. Quarry is what's right behind the salvage yard. Gravel pit is the Manitowoc County property. That's the little bit farther away. So it's known that it's for sure that bones were given to the Hallbach family. It's not known if those bones are Teresa. Therefore, when the state was claiming those bones are not Teresa, that they're just in evidence, you can't give that stuff away. It has to remain in evidence. So this is a big boo-boo. Caitlin says, just tuning in. What's up, peeps? That's what's up, peeps. Derek says, any good news? Well, I'm going to consider everything that's happening with the pelvic bone in Stephen's case right now good news. This should get him out. Should. Knock on wood. Any superstition thing you got to do. It should get him out. Melissa Kaluzinski's case. Something's going on in her case right now. That hopefully is going to be good for her, but I can't speak on that. So think positive thoughts. Valerie says, wait, who is Curtis? Curtis is who started Steven Avery Project. So the page that we have, so Steven Avery Project page, Curtis Bussey started that. I took it over about 2 years ago. And he started Steven Avery Project, and then from there I started first the Steven Avery Project group to tag on to that, because on a page, if you're not a moderator of a page and you post something, it goes to that right side and then gets lost. So I had started the Steven Avery Project group because that would be a tighter community, easier for people, because it shouldn't be just moderators posting stuff. We're no better than anybody else who's interested in this case on things that you find that are interesting and to share and all that. So Steven Avery Project group started not long after I took over the Steven Avery Project page. And then I started MAM Gossip a year ago. And it's because I get so infuriated at things that the Avery family does. So, but I'm not going to talk about it on Steven Avery Project. It's not appropriate. And most people who follow Stephen's case, they don't want to know all this stupid gossip shit. They don't care about it. That now I just got threatened by Chuck, and now I got threatened by Earl, and now got threatened by Scott. So they don't want to hear all that. So I started the gossip page to just vent about it. And we didn't even used to really promote it. It was really small for a while. We kept it to just really people that we've known since the start of the Making a Murderer Facebook stuff that we knew were real supporters. And it wasn't until right around part 2 came out, I believe, that we decided, all right, let's open it up more. Let's promote gossip and let more people in, because also part 2 was showing you some of the dirty stuff in there. So I consider gossip where you can go to get the real truth. You know, that the only thing that we don't let you do in here is say that Stephen or Brendan are guilty, because they're not. And so that's not up for discussion. I get that there's people that like to hear the other side, you know, and want to do those debates, but there's already groups out there for that. So we don't need to be that group as well. So if that's something that somebody's looking for, then go there. So pretty much anything else is open. We do still keep it, though, that posts have to be approved by us first, because people can sneak in and post something stupid. We and by stupid I mean like if a guilter gets in. We try to allow all posts. Even I personally let the duplicated posts come in. You know, everybody wants to be the person who's posting Kathleen's newest tweet. So I'll approve them. And sometimes because the moderators deal with that stuff a lot more than I do, because typically if there's something major that goes on, I go live and I'm talking to live. And so it's the moderators that are dealing with all that stuff. And so when you're going to have 40 people all submitting the same exact thing, they're going to delete them all and just leave one. You know, so it's nothing against the people who have submitted it. We thank you very much for submitting it, and please continue to do so. But understand, especially in those circumstances, it's, you know, we're not going to have the whole page filled up with everybody posting Kratz's tweet for the day. But like, if somebody goes and tries to post it the next day, I approve it, because things get pushed down the page or whatever. Same thing goes with, all right, look, those of us, me and Patty and Carrie, we've been with this case since Making a Murderer Part 1 came out. So a lot of stuff that people will discover now, we already talked about 3 years ago. We already know about this or whatever. But there are new people every day that come to this case. Stephen Avery Project, we get messages, I don't know how many times a day, that I just watched Making a Murderer. I'm so outraged. So every day somebody new is finding this case, and then they come across our pages. So I am not going to go, oh my God, you're now going to talk about that it's a valet key. We all know it's a valet key. Well, no, everybody doesn't know. So go ahead and repeat old stuff. Show us old links, old articles, old Reddit threads, because it could be new to somebody else. Or I say too, I researched the hell out of this case, and I've forgotten so much stuff that I knew once upon a time, you know? So it doesn't hurt. And if it's a post you're not interested in, then skip it. I do all the time. I run the damn group, and I don't read every thread. I'm sorry, I don't. You know, so I don't agree with every post that's made here. I don't agree with every theory. Like the moderators of Stephen Avery Project, we've got people who think Teresa is still alive. Or that think that the bones are Carmen Bootwell's. I don't think that, but I'm not going to say, no, you can't talk about that, because that's not my theory. Who says my theory is right? So again, you can discuss all these different things. You just can't say, well, what if Stephen's guilty? Well, there is no what if Stephen's guilty, because we're not living in fantasy land here. We're dealing in facts, and Stephen is innocent. All right, let me scroll again. Valerie says, so I must be late to the show, but who is Curtis and who is the purple lady? Well, I just explained who Curtis is. The purple lady is this chick who's been trying to make money off the Stephen Avery case. She's got a YouTube channel. And, you know, so all those people who do YouTube, so like even I found out the basically a lawyer chick is now going to start doing her stuff on YouTube so they can make money off of it. So meanwhile, all those people call me a thief all the time, try to say that I'm stealing money, when if I wanted to make money, I so could. Stephen Avery Project, 191,000 people. My boyfriend owns a print shop. I could have him print shirts and sell shirts, and I could pocket all the freaking money. But I don't. I do these Facebook Live videos. I don't get paid for this. So Purple Lady is somebody who she thinks that she's just the smartest person in the world because when she had a child custody case, she represented herself. So another one who thinks they're a lawyer, but they're not a lawyer. And she's just mean and nasty. She says such horrible things about Stephen and Brendan. But there she is trying to make money off of their cases. So when those are things I do not approve here. I do not approve when somebody tries to link to anything that comes from Purple Lady, that if it was to come from basically a lawyer, if it comes from, I can't remember that douchebag's name. What's that douchebag name's? Richard McAdams. I can't remember what his douchebag name is. I know. And if I see people post anything to them, I delete it. Johnny Jack Smith, somebody's been spamming all around gossip, trying to post his thing that he did a YouTube video on the voicemail. No, I delete that. Because again, you go there, he's trying to make money for you to listen to it. I have it posted here and it's free. And not going in his pocket. So just for future reference, I'm the big bad on that I will not allow those. Those are not supporters. Those are people that are preying on these cases just to make money, and not happening on my watch. People's replies. Janet says, maybe you have a twin, Jax. Yeah, maybe I do. Can post, tell them that at court. Valerie says, any new info from the state or anything? Also, I really hope that the state sheriff can't say, oops, my bad. Right? Yeah. We're still waiting to hear from the court. And whatchamacallit? The state to say what they found in the bag. Janet says, well, gone again, Carol Ann Fitzgerald. Oh, Janet, are you saying she left this group again? Because I know she's left this group before, I believe. Because people do that at times. They get into fights with people here and then they leave. Hey, Tammy, with a whole bunch of Y's. Or should I say a bunch of M's? Chelsea, who's calling me from Austin, Texas? I don't know who's calling me from Austin, Texas. I'm not answering that. Chelsea says, I'm so far behind on this. I'm going all over the place today. Valerie says, you have been threatened by all of them. Why? Let's see. Chuck wasn't a really bad threat, I guess. I mean, the way he worded it could come off as really ominous, but it was when I went to the Drizzt Night Rider thing the first time in Chicago, they had a girl perform a song there that's called Bad Man, I think is what it's called. And it's an awesome song about Stephen Avery. You know, Mom, they made a bad man out of me. And she also has a line in there, poor people lose all the time. It's a really great song. And so I talked to Chuck and asked Chuck if she could film a video for the song at Stephen's trailer, because I thought that would be really haunting. And Chuck gave permission. So I had organized that I was going to be taking the band up there and they were going to do that video. And then Carla got all mad at me because I said that she doesn't control me. She's not the boss of me and I will do what I want. And so then I got a message from Chuck telling me that he was now not going to allow anybody at the salvage yard, and for me not to leave home for a few days or something like that. I can't remember how it was worded. So, and I remember I showed the screenshot of that to the moderators, and they're like, oh my God, and all worried about it. I thought it was funny. Earl has threatened me. I mean, Earl called me earmuffs for anybody that doesn't like bad language. Earl called me a cunt, and Earl said that he was going to get me charged with trespassing, is how he worded it. Trespassing. And then he also said, I'm dumber than him, and he only has a 40 IOO, which took me a while to figure out. That's how he was spelling IQ. And when I was seeing Drizzen and Knight Rider the second time, the most recent time in Chicago, Earl was messaging me all this stuff while I was there. So I showed Drizzen Earl's messages. I'm like, yep, look what Earl's sending me right now. So Earl's given me a couple of threats. Scott's just said nasty stuff about me. Carla has sicked her minions on me, where they've reported me to my local police department. They reported me to the Attorney General's office. They have been slamming me for 2+ years now on Twitter and their Facebook groups. And I believe Carla wormed her way back into Steven's good graces, and that's why I haven't heard from Steven in a while. So Steven doesn't like me anymore because, all right, so Steven has disliked Carla forever. That's why Carla's not on his visitors list or any of that. So, and he wasn't even talking to her. And then one day in late October, I think it was late October, Steven told me that he would like there to be a truce between the groups. And I said, all right, if that's what you want, because prior to that, he only said nasty things to me about Carla, how she was stealing money and all this and that. So I told him, fine, if that's what he wants, but Carla's fundraisers need to stop, because I will never support Carla's fundraisers. So then the next day he had Carla call me. And so Carla and I talked on the phone, and we called a truce. And I told her on the phone, no fundraisers. And she went, oh God, no. Yeah, there's too much drama. No, won't be doing fundraisers anymore. So then Carla was in heaven, because I would do Facebook Lives on Steven Avery Project public page, and she got to be there in the message, in the messages in there, and she was answering people, because that's all Carla wants is attention and then your money. So then within a week, 1 GoFundMe, 2 GoFundMe, 3 GoFundMe, all these funds started up. And I said, no. And so I made a post on Steven Avery Project saying, do not give money to any of those GoFundMes. No. For Carla to have Thanksgiving, and for Carla to have Christmas, and for Carla to go to Red Lobster. Nope, not doing it. So I said, I made the post saying, if you want to donate money to Steven or Brendan, give it directly to their commissary or to their lawyers. That is it. Steven Avery Project will not be promoting any other fund, GoFundMe, fundraiser, whatever. Not doing it. So then one of the moderators of Steven Avery Project, who's known as a bad boy, people on Twitter are, scared of Mike O'Ryan. Mike O'Ryan made a tweet about her GoFundMe bullshit. He made a tweet as Michael Ryan. He did not, and I didn't know he was doing it, had nothing to do with it. And so then Carla messages me. Hold on a second. Hey, Paul, I'm live right now. I'm going to be ending in like 15 minutes. Can I call you back? All right, I'll call you back then. All right, bye. All right, that was Paul Kalyazinski. So I'll be ending this in 15 minutes and call Paul back to find out what happened with Melissa's case. Anyway, where was I? Oh, so she sends me the screenshot of Michael Ryan's post, and she's like, I thought there was supposed to be a truce. And it's like, well, there's to be no GoFundMes. Well, and also, you know, I can give her the same old story she always says when her minions do stuff of, I can't control them. They're their own people, blah, blah, blah. Well, same goes for Michael Ryan. He tweeted what he wanted to tweet. It has nothing to do with me. And everybody can see all these millions of GoFundMes that she has for herself. Oh, wait, no, she's using semantics. She didn't start them. Other people make them for her. Oh, shucks. So I said, there's to be no fundraisers, Carla. And she said, Stephen will hear about this. And I said, go for it. And I haven't heard from Stephen since. So I'm sure she went to him and said, I'm stealing money from his mom, is what she will use Dolores. I'm sure that's what happened. I'm fine if you want to give stuff to Dolores. Go for it. Just would never go through Carla first or any of Carla's minions. No. You want to give money to Dolores? You can do what I did previously. People PayPal'd me money and I drove it up and handed it to Dolores, which Carla is denying happened. Because she says, Dolores never told me about that. Well, maybe because you've already talked about $900 went missing from Dolores's house. So she knows you all steal her money. So she's not going to tell you that I handed her $300 in cash and a $25 Visa card. You know, because you're going to steal it, Carla. So I don't talk to Stephen anymore either. But if he ever wants to reach out to me again, he's got my number. But it doesn't change what I do here. I still believe in Stephen's innocence. Chelsea, and now I got to go through these because it's 3:45. I'll end this at 4 so I can call Paul. Chelsea says, I don't see how people think he is guilty. I don't either. And Rhea answers that saying, because some people's brains fell out of their skull. Clive and Sandy said, hi from the UK. Is Stephen keeping well? Stephen is always, now, like I just said, I haven't spoken to him since November. But every time I talk to him, for the 2 years I talked to him, he's always positive and happy. So he does all right. Rachel says, wait, the detectives are threatening you, Jax? No, I got a trespassing ticket from Manitowoc Sheriff's Department. No detectives have threatened me. Family has threatened me. Rhea says, can I ask a question about the evidence notes H1 and H2, pictures of body and measurements and dig site? Or did you cover that already? Sorry, just clicked in on this and I might be a little behind. Do you know anything about that? Not offhand, Rhea. Janet says, no, that should have read, well done, Carol Ann Fitzgerald. Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, I fully give props to Carol Ann. And I am thankful that Kathleen tweeted and named Carol Ann as well. Because I know basically a lawyer and others are trying to take credit for it. And no one is saying that Carol found something that nobody else had thought of. You know, yes, other people had thought of it, but Carol is the one that really researched it and gave it to Kathleen. So it doesn't matter if you thought of it. It matters who got it to Kathleen to show her. So major props to Carol. Terry says, has Sweaty Sweat said anything about these latest screw-ups, or is he not admitting fault as per usual? Well, Terry, somebody said he tweeted something today, but I haven't seen it. So I don't know if his tweet is that or not. Christy says, it sounds like people need to grow the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Rachel says, Earl? Yeah, Earl, Earl is a scary critter. Yeah, Earl is the one that let Pam Sturm of God on the property. Rayanne said, what did I miss? I'm just talking in general of anything that's on here, of all the different cases, and this will be up here when I'm done in the next 10 minutes. So you can start it from the beginning if you would like. Janet says, did you hear anything about Mom, Pa, Avery? How are they doing? That is the number one asked question. And when Kathleen did her Q&A last week, she answered that question too. And she says, you know, they're doing as well as can be expected, but they're getting older and have declining health. So every day is, you know, just another day that, you know, they're old. So you just hope Stephen can get out soon so he can have, you know, be with his parents for as long as he can. Ooh, I'm down at the bottom. Whoop, whoop. So, all right. Well, then, since I'm down at the bottom, oh, wait, Rhea now just said more info so you can give me your thoughts on is what I mean. Yeah, I figured that. So I'm going to end this now so I can call Paul back because I'm dying to know what happened at this thing today. And tomorrow I will be out of commission most of the day because I'll be driving down and I'm going to visit Melissa Kaluzinski. And then I will go from Melissa's prison to Kent's prison and go visit him as well. And then when I get home, I'm going to have to, I don't know, because I have degenerative disc disease. So the long car ride, and then when you're sitting in the visitors' rooms, it's those hard chairs. So by the time I get home tomorrow, I'm gonna be in tears that my back is gonna hurt so bad. And then Thursday, I've got my meeting with my new job at 1:00. So maybe I'll go live Thursday night or maybe Friday sometime, and I can update you on Melissa's case and my visits with Melissa and Kent. We can talk about that, and maybe we've heard something about 8675. So, all right. So I'm out. Everybody have a good evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Oh, and I'll close this out with Free Melissa. Justice denied.